I'll intro if you want.
Sure.
Or unless Eddie wants to intro.
No.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, go. Yeah, do your joke.
Joke. Shit.
Oh, I thought you said I have a joke.
Oh no, intro. I said.
Oh,
If you wanna do
intro.
it, intro.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Intro.
Thank you, Eddie.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
You worked the title of the podcast in there and everything.
Exactly. It was the do.
I think we get in there.
Hi, Eddie. Hi, Mike. How you guys doing?
Doing well, Mitch. Thanks for asking.
Thanks everyone for listening, clicking that link that's sometimes there and sometimes not on the Facebook page.
Absolutely.
What's up with that?
The periodic.
What's up with that?
links.
So, no,
You've bitched about this before.
Yeah,
This is
so-
and it's not your fault. We know it's because I've seen this.
It's weird. For those who link us, or who watch it through YouTube, so they go on the Facebook, they click the link and go to YouTube.
Our parents and aunts and uncles.
Yeah,
and all
well,
that.
because we're on Spotify too.
Oh, okay, cool.
No Spotify.
Yeah,
We're out there.
but so normally when we first started, I would just post the YouTube link in the text box, and Facebook would, as it normally does, create like a thumbnail,
Hot link or not a hot link, but
a thumbnail that's a link.
Shows the picture and the YouTube
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
And for some reason, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it. I do the same thing every time, but sometimes it'll bring up like the link, but without a thumbnail. So it just kind of looks weird. It just kind of says like YouTube.
Yeah.
And so then sometimes I try to attach my own thumbnail, and it's weird. Yeah, and it's not consistent, and there's no rhyme or reason to it.
I wonder if it's like a content thing, like if the subject matter is COVID related or whatever. But
I could go back and look, but I think it's just random.
just random.
Yeah, which is irritating.
Do you post it on different devices like a phone or a?
I normally just use my laptop. Same.
Because that was the theory of yours, is like if you preset it like on a timer or whatever.
There was that, yeah, because usually, because you can like schedule a post.
Right.
So I thought that might be it. It's not.
Yeah. Follow us for more podcast updates on how it works. This was an early idea of Eddie's, was to have a podcast about making podcasts, because we just, like, when we first started, we're like, what do we do it about? Like this is what we do it about.
It's still about nothing.
No, but I'll open us up with well, wait, we already opened up, I guess. Okay, next topic. God, dude. Okay, next topic. We have an episode not brought to you by Ghetto Air Conditioners. We've done Ghetto before. I'm doing it again because their latest commercial is just pretty shit.
Is it on the radio?
Yeah.
So I need to listen to the radio again. I've been just listening to podcasts and news and shit, but I feel like I need to. So I've been in Ghetto Bliss for the last like year and a half. I haven't heard any commercials from Ghetto.
It's getting to the point where I feel bad for this guy.
I don't think he knows,
Because either he's wasting all this money on bad commercials. So he either is like, he's deeply in debt and I feel bad for him and I want to give him some business, or he's that good and he has that much like money that he can throw away on bad commercials, so I want to give him my business. Either way, his commercials are terrible. And this latest one.
What's the latest one? I remember the last one I heard a year and a half ago was awful.
I heard it this morning. I hear it every day, but I heard it this morning and I'm like, okay, this that's it. I'm writing it down. We're gonna
have to
talk
do it
about
again.
And I heard it again on the way here, so I just made sure that my points were right. He says it's always the guy, the owner,
and
Steve.
it's the music's
Gettle.
like do.
Yeah. It's this ragtimey shit. But it's the main guy, what his first name is, Gettle, something Gettle. And he always tells you stories about how cool his technicians are and how nice they are or whatever. And so this one was, my technician, Don, was in line at a store. While he was waiting in line, he saw an old man with all his groceries go up to the store. And this is true. This is
I think I might have heard this one.
An old man go up to the register and realized that he was short on money for everything.
I did hear this one.
Embarrassed, he took his box of checks back to the aisle. So far, it's pretty detailed. I'm like, okay, I'm with it. Good story. While he was taking his checks back to the aisle.
You mean checks like the
cereal?
Okay,
Chex cereal. Chex corn cereal. He says Chex corn cereal in the commercial. Like, okay, so while he was doing so, another man carrying 2 cases of Bud Light saw him return the checks to the cereal.
I did hear this, yeah.
The man holding the Bud Light saw a $5 bill on the floor, picked it up, and brought it over to the old man, and told the old man that he saw him drop his $5 bill on the floor, so the old man can go get his checks. The man with the Bud Light decided to put one of his cases back and then went back and bought his beer and left. If I was with Don, I would have hired that man with the Bud Light on the spot.
I have heard this one.
And that's the crux of the commercial, is that my tech, who didn't help the old man with all his groceries, saw someone else help his groceries, and then figured that'd make a good enough story for a commercial to say, if I was there, I would have hired that guy because that's the kind of tech I want working for me, because we're just that swell. And then he tags the commercial with, I shit you not, put the pedal to the metal, call Ghetto. Now, when I think air conditioning, I think hardcore, extreme, going fast and loose, pedal to the metal.
It's not enough that we're like on a podcast like, hey, here's this commercial on the radio. I haven't listened to the radio in a very long time. I listen to like my iPod or not. It's not even an iPod. My God, I'm dating.
Yeah, but I'm the same way. I don't listen to the radio anymore. But I
one,
remember that one.
This one was rough. It was rough.
Well, never mind. They don't need to have HVAC experience. The guy could be just, kind of, he can like learn or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
If he's paying, for somebody's, tank of gas now.
But why?
Checks.
But why Bud Light? Why the Corn Chex cereal? Why the?
I think it's supposed to. I remember. In a theater school, they talked about. I took a class for commercials, and I think part of the soft sell is making it relatable. So they say Chex, they say Bud Light, because then it's specifics, and they.
But all about people that has nothing to do with him. It's just something that one of his employees saw.
No, but it's supposed to be one of those things like that. It appears to be real, because I would bet money that none of that fucking shit happened.
I would disagree. I bet the advertising agency was hard up, and it's like, here's what I saw at the store. Wouldn't that make some great copy and relatable to the character of this business?
At the ad agency, maybe, but I don't think he talked to his employee, and the employee told him the story. That's what I'm saying.
But Bud Light? Really? Bud Light. Okay. Not
no, but I remember that one. I said it before.
Or just beer. Just beer.
I think
buying beer.
I think it was the first not brought to you by that we did Ghetto.
It was one of the first.
And that was my pick. And I said then, and I'll say it again now, like, I know too much about this guy's life.
Yeah.
Which I know.
That's right, because he talks about his dog and shit.
And that's part of his soft sell is like, get to know me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I remember I hired a plumbing company for the bar. I won't name the plumbing company. Fuck it, All Star Plumbing.
Oh, okay.
But I remember, I got him.
Those all.
No, but I hired him, and then like within, we scheduled the appointment, and I got like an email from I forgot the text name. Let's call him Richard, and it was like, "Hi, I'll be your tech, Richard." And in the email, it was like a photo of him like in his uniform, like smiling.
Oh yeah.
And then, but it was like, I like to walk my dog on the weekend. Like it was like a list of hobbies.
Weird.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's weird.
What?
Yeah, that's weird.
And I was like, I don't need to know this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to know this about you. And it's kind of uncomfortable now.
Yeah, my mom hired a plumber once, and it was the same kind of deal. They sent her an email, and with like a GPS update, this is where I am, blah, 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 track my whatever. And she loved it. She was like, cool, I know where so they must have met somewhere in the middle. I don't think she got his Tinder account or anything. So.
Well, yeah, but no, it was weird. And I knew a guy who had worked for that previously. And I talked to him, I was like, is this normal? And he's like, dude, none of us want to do that. But it's a kind of a selling technique that makes it seem like we're relatable, we're people, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I was like, it didn't like, I didn't lose sleep over it, but it was just kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about the Ghetto commercials. Like,
yeah, just
dude,
TMI.
Why do I know the name of your dog? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, maybe some people are into it. I don't know. You know what? Either he's that good and he has that much money to waste on commercials, or he's like got his like nephew writing his commercials and they're just recording it in his. And this
is all just to appease his nephew.
This is like Windows video editor that they're putting the music over it on his recording and whatever. I don't know.
People are just desperately trying to personalize and to bond. If I could screen share, I would share. The Microsoft, the importance of haircuts and pronouns, and just shows one of the presenters in a mohawk. I'm James, a Caucasian male, him, he. And it just keeps going on, and it goes on down the line. And I was like 4 months ago, and it's like, okay, can you fix my computer? Can you?
I mean,
can we get to the point here?
Speaking of
hacked via SolarWinds, I mean,
I'll call you whatever you want. Can you just come fix my computer?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of cultural genocide, how's Ukraine going, Eddie?
It's extremely nervous because as things escalate, we left off a week ago. That seems like an infinity, Putin taking an off ramp because we had hit or he had hit some nuclear facilities, and now they have the facilities, and there's no power there. So I don't know what that represents if there's maintenance going on, but yeah, there's no power to that facility. I'm not sure how that's significant, but the media.
I didn't know about that, but I know. So I was I listened to our podcast just to take notes on ourselves, etc. I think it was yesterday I was listening to it about how we were all like, oh, this power plant, nuclear power plant, this is a way for Putin to back out without looking like an asshole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, how this aged.
Yeah, exactly.
Me too.
It's like turns out nope. Released the next day or today because it's zeitgeisty, well, and if we don't do that, then yeah, it's going to age. But
I mean,
at the moment,
yeah, I mean, some people listen, and my wife didn't even know about the plant, or like I knew some people didn't even hear about that. So
well, you know what? It's kind of weird. Like there was a couple people at the bar that Ukraine came up, not like in a political conversation, just like, oh, what's happening in Ukraine, and there were a couple people who are like, wait, what are you talking? Like they just don't.
Oh wow.
They don't watch. There's some people who just don't watch the news and don't
have social media, whatever.
Yeah, but so that was weird.
Yeah, I heard today was more peace talks in Turkey. Russian and Ukraine officials met, and I was wondering, like, what could they talk about? Like, Ukraine is Ukraine saying, hey, stop shooting us and fuck off, and Russia's like, nope. All right, well, let's call it a day.
Everything has gone so completely against the plan. Not that what is the plan in the first place? What, okay, they're going to get in 2-3 days, 72 hours, we take Kiev and checkmate. All right, let's move on with our lives and what have you. We install a puppet government. That obviously hasn't happened going into, day 14? And now when they get at the table, it's just them sitting there listening because Russia now wants to talk because it occurs to them they're not going to win this war. Every single day, this population is going to fight. You can take the president, you can take Kiev, but every single day they're going to be harassed, and you don't have a military that is going to sustain that area. They don't have the forces, they don't have the manpower to catch and hold. You can catch it, but holding it's a very different story. So now it's going the opposite.
You literally just took out of the meltdown.
You've got Ukraine saying, "Oh no, we're taking back Donbass, we're taking back Crimea, and we need you the hell out." And that wasn't kind of on the table. It was like, so it's been this galvanization. And if you go back even a couple months, Germany, France were starting to split from the United States. China really liked that, kind of coming up in the world, being an intermediary for that. Now, the West is completely galvanized behind in this effort. So it's like, China's going, oh, what the hell are we doing? And it's very interesting perspective on Taiwan because they see how Russia's faltering, and then it's like, oh, geez, we got water in the way. Can we really do this? It's giving everybody pause. And the scary thing is, according to the press conference, White House briefing, press conference, there may be biological and chemical weapons employed by Russia. What happens then? That just kind of opened me up. Again, little preface, as a retired admiral said, I don't have daily intelligence briefings to make an accurate assessment, just what I hear on the news. But that really does sound like we could be slowly escalating into a world war as this ramps up. And then you have a dictator that keeps an inner circle, hears only what he wants to hear. And, but if you're only hearing what you want to hear and it's been over 72 hours since your army has not taken the objective, then what's the issue here, So anyways, it's not getting better. It's not getting better.
Well, like all the other really effective methods that America seems to be taking, prayers for Ukraine. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
Well, the thing is, we're hitting the pocketbook. I mean, you've got corporate support being pulled. McDonald's, who, it's not such a corporate structure over there. When you go into McDonald's, you can get a tour, a tour of the menu. Yeah, somebody takes you around the restaurant and what have you. That's, they're in the community, and now they're just pulled the hell out after 30 years. That's a big deal. You can't use your Visa card. We've stopped buying their oil, and we're all seeing that.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. It's not. I know a lot of people are criticizing the sanctions because it's like, oh, it's not enough. But even I know I was reading something about like China was kind of buying into the propaganda and giving their own propaganda about the whole situation, saying, no, Russia's right, etc. But I guess even as of today, I forgot what it was, but even China now is saying like, oh yeah, like because like the terminology is kind of weird. Where like in Russia, it's illegal now to say it's an invasion or a war.
Oh wow!
They have to say, I think it's a strategic military operation is what you have to call it.
Wow,
something like that. Yeah. And so, but China was buying into that. So like in China, it's like it's not an invasion, it's not a war. But now even China's like it's an invasion.
Shit.
Because they were all on board with Russia at first, but even now, like Eddie said, with everyone pretty much rallying against Russia, even China's like, maybe.
Rough.
Yeah.
Well, and because China's success, they're poised to be the number one economy in the world, bypassing the U.S. They were on track to do that. Now, with this whole Russia thing, it's like, oh, do we want to get involved? Yeah, we did say limitless during the Olympics, didn't we? We did say that. Damn it, we want to be number one, and yeah, there's Russia over there. Damn it, how do you know? So,
I'd like to commend Eddie on his flawless Chinese accent there.
That's exactly what they sound like.
It's pretty good.
I take my time, and all the way from Guangdao to Chitlong,
Nice.
There you go. Yeah, and I gotta say too, with the biological weapons and shit, it just, and granted this is just a personal thing, but I think I'm not the only one feeling this way. It's so irritating because, like, how can you lie so publicly and just not give a shit? I know that sounds weird, and of course politicians lie, but so Putin at the beginning was like, these are just military operations. We're not gonna go into Ukraine. Fast forward, we're not invading Ukraine. We're gonna try to just keep the peace in these two regions. Where there's separatists. We're just going to keep the peace. And then next thing, we're going after Kiev. We're going after these cities. And it's like, and now, because we're trying to denazify. Like, fuck off. And then now with the biological weapon thing, like, so today, I believe it was today or yesterday, a bomb hit a maternity ward.
Today?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, today or yesterday.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Trying to flip it.
I mean, I heard about that today.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, and this is where, like, it's irritating. So I heard one part where Russia said, no, that maternity ward was empty. No one was there. We hit it, but no one was there.
Oh, wow.
And then another report came out where they said, no, that's a Ukrainian false flag.
Oh, shit.
And it's like, dude, you can't even fucking lie right. You're not even sticking to the story.
Yeah.
Well,
like, come on.
It's buying that own press and buying that own propaganda.
Well, of course, and now that's what I was getting to is, so now with the whole biological warfare thing coming up, I heard that like now the Russians, I don't want to say the Russians, Putin's people are like, the Ukrainians have biological labs. And the theory is they're using that as a false flag so that they can use biological and chemical weapons. Because they even said, I think it was like a U.S. funded lab.
Wow.
And Ukrainians in the U.S. are like, no, that's not what it is. But now the Russians are saying, no, it is.
Saying it to
so they're going to use that now.
They're saying it to the
exactly, yeah.
Well, they can lie about everything else. The one thing they can't lie about is the bodies coming home to wives and mothers. They can't lie about that. They can lie about everything else, and they've clearly demonstrated that, and it's not going to get better. And that's it's not a NATO country, but that thing can spread. What you're going to have anthrax? See the border anthrax. You only stay within that border. You hear me? All right. It worked for COVID.
I would say if you know the history of Russia, you can go back to the Romanovs, and you know that the Romanovs and the Tsars behind them, they all lied to their people, and it was just regular for them. Fuck the people; they're too smart to know what to do with the truth anyway. Tell them lies so that way they'll shut up, do their jobs, and we can be successful. Oh my God, what's his name? The Marxist, the Lenin. Sorry, thank you, Vladimir Lenin. Comes in, and his whole thing was lying to the people. Stalin did the same. Even Gorbachev did the same. Like, you don't have to go back to the beginning of the USSR. You can go back to the 80s, and they were blindly lying. They had a newspaper, which I don't know the Russian word, Eddie, you might know it, but it was translated to Truth. The Russian newspaper was called Truth, and it was full of lies, just outright.
I guess my point is I completely get lying to your own people. Our politicians lie a lot too,
but not on that scale.
Not on that scale. But my point is, like, forget to their own people. Like, they're saying this to the world.
No, I mean, that's why. It's why I kind of disagree with you in that there's a difference between lying and saying something that's not true that you believe to be true.
Okay, so
I think politicians
in my head, if you say something that's not true that you believe is true, that's not lying. You're just ignorant.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not saying ignorant in an insulting way. You just don't know about
I guess I'm just nitpicky about even the blanket statements that even American politicians lie. It's like, yeah, but come on.
Not to the same extent. My point is, I get Russians and those kind of people, any sort of, the dictator lies to their people with propaganda. The irritation to me isn't that necessarily. I mean, it's that, but it's like to the world. They're not saying this to their people. I mean, they're saying to their people, but they're saying to the world, like, no, that maternity ward, like that was a false flag.
They're trying to pull it off with other people.
Who outside of Russia and some of China do you think is actually buying this shit?
Why not? I mean,
but that's what I mean. That's what kind of irritates me. I'm like, the balls.
Yeah,
you have.
See, I guess I'm more irritated at the surprise of it. I'm like, of course they would. Of course they lie. That's what they do. They always do. And Chernobyl was happening, and they were like, no, it's fine. Our radiation isn't even that bad. And it's like, no, it was like they almost endangered the whole world based on their lies. Mm-hmm. It was just, it's so just commonplace for them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not surprised, and I'm irritated that people are surprised because you don't know, not you, but I'm saying people who are surprised by this don't understand just how serious this is and how, like, anyway, I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying. I guess I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I'm just irritated.
Yeah.
Because even
no, it's okay. I mean, I'm pissed off at them too. It's ridiculous.
Even the Ukrainian Russian thing aside, even when, like, if hypothetically, let's say, and you weren't, but let's say the two of you guys were late to the shoot today, and I was like, oh, why were you late? You were 5 minutes late. Why were you late? And you were like, oh, sorry, like work ran late. And I was like, okay. And then like maybe 10 minutes later, I was like, oh, why were you late again? And you're like, oh yeah, I had to run to the store. And I'm like, well, yeah. So now I'm like, what the fuck? Like, like just what? Like, okay, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
And that's where, like, that kind of things. I've dealt with a lot of liars in the past who, like, will lie about their lies.
Yeah.
And where I'm just kind of like, not surprised. I'm just like, ugh. Like, granted, he's still a piece of shit, but if Putin just came out and said, I know I say Putin all the time.
It still cracks me up every time. I love it.
Putin. But I would almost have respect, not because he's still a piece of shit, but if he just came out and he's like, you know what? Yeah, I just want to fucking bring Russia back to the USSR glory and take this land back. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't agree with him, but at least I'm like, at least you're being fucking honest with us. Lie to your people,
but don't lie to me.
But don't lie to the world. Yeah, the world knows what's going on.
He's got that perspective, and he's got the dictator perspective, and that's the most important narrative. Is one of victory, and one of being correct. And if that's not happening, then it shows flaws in the leadership, and that can't happen. So it's going to be. Mm-hmm. It's not. This is not. There's not a good outcome for this either way.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. So anyway, well, that's we'll keep you guys updated. I guess
it there.
It's more. I mean, we should just give up trying to update and more just like our philosophy on how it looks and the philosophy.
That's our philosophy.
Because
we'll try to. It's really interesting, but keep in mind, just kind of slowly escalating. It's not a surprise. It's just like, okay, we're one-upsmanship, slow escalation. And just the thought that if things go crazy, now we got hypersonic missiles and on the way, and we got submarines launching, and it gets crazy real quick. And it's not like that can't happen. It's not like that's unlikely. But then again, okay, they do a tactical nuclear, strike, and it goes off direction and hits Poland. Then what? That's a nuclear strike, and then we're involved. It was a tactical. Oops, it went off course. Okay. It's still a nuclear strike. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we've touched on it enough, but I think that's a good talking about lies and just even they lie so blindly that they believe it, and they just to the point where where I'm going with this because you see point number one on my
that everybody else is supposed to believe it.
See, as we buttoned up Russia and go into the next topical thing that happened today was our good buddy Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett was convicted today and sentenced to 150 days in jail, 30 months of probation, all these fines and shit.
How long in jail?
100. I'm sorry. What was it? 150 days, I think.
So 5 months.
I think that's what it was. So he's going to jail. I heard on the drive here. I heard his audio of last statement to the judge before whatever, and he said, quote, I am not suicidal, like 10 times. in his little statement. I'm not suicidal. If anything happens to me, it's not me. I'm not suicidal. I did this to, and I didn't do this. I'm innocent, blah, blah, blah. But it was just really weird. So that lying racist piece of shit is going to jail. But again, that's why I kind of mentioned how
that's why I started
laughing.
Is that little segue.
It's a lie, so blindly a lie. Everyone knows you're lying, and yet he still holds to it.
Well, the weird thing about that, because I'll admit, when it first came out, most people, myself included, were like, "Oh fuck,
yeah!"
Like, "Oh my god, did someone jumped him?" Because this is, and then like,
and then the details.
A couple days later, like within a few days, like everything's like, wait a second, was it like you're going to get a sandwich in the middle of a night while it's snowing? Like it was like, wait a second. And then once like the truth came out, it was kind of like there were a few like holdouts who were like, well, hold on, but for the most, but for the most part, everyone was like, the fuck, dude.
Yeah. If you want to hear a spot on explanation of what happened with Jussie Smollett, or listen to Dave Chappelle's little bit on him. He calls him Juicy Smollett. Pretty much like hammer on the head.
I'm going to write that down because I want to listen to his.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
And even just what's funny about that one? Yes, the whole setup is dumb, and like the whole thing, like you could have just not done that, and your life would be fine. You'd still be on a show, etc. But the incompetence, he didn't even carry it out well.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I'm not saying I approve of him lying.
No, but if you're gonna set some shit up, I mean, at least
right.
At least what was that couple from the early '90s who said that their daughter was kidnapped by
Ramses?
The Ramses, yeah. Was it the '90s or early '90s, right?
Yeah. She was kidnapped. I think it was the mid-90s. JonBenet Ramsey, yeah.
Yeah, and they were saying it was some Puerto Rican guy that did it. South Park did a great joke on it. There's some Puerto Rican guy that took that, and they kept going on about it, but they like at least had some backup stories ready.
Yeah. Once I've kind of forgot the details now because it's been so long ago and so much has happened that I don't have so much space in my brain.
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking like, dude, you didn't even plan this well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like, you could have planned this.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, think about it. He could have, like, gone out, paid someone to beat the shit out of him,
right?
Come back and say...
Jussie, you're back to Jussie.
Yeah, Jussie. Okay. These two white guys wearing MAGA hats beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
What do they look like? White guys with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Right.
I don't know. I got beat up. And he could have gotten away with it, and I had this story, and people feel bad for him, and we'd all believe it. But to fuck up that bad.
Yeah.
Like, you did not plan this out, bro.
It was pretty rough. But, yeah, and then the next point, like that, what this devolved to, and this what was kind of like the danger of the situation is that there was a lot of people that I noticed. I mean, I don't know how widespread it was, but a lot of people, once it started coming out that he was full of shit and this was not true, he was still holding out that it was true. But there was a lot of people that still defending him, not necessarily just the holdouts, but the people defending him saying, well, but look, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's still, a problem. And it was like, that was the kind of the point they made is like, look, it's still a problem. Racism and this homophobia is still a problem. And it's like, okay, but you realize that most of your argument is based on something that did not happen. Mm-hmm. If anything, it's counterintuitive. But do you know what I mean? Did you run into any of that, of those kind of people saying?
I may have.
It was frustrating.
Think most of my friends just kind of gave up on him. They're like, no. But it's one of those things like, okay, yeah, like, that's an argument to be had if racism's still a problem, but like that isn't relevant to you lying about the situation.
Right,
like,
right.
It's a red herring. It doesn't matter.
I mean, a lot of people, a lot of fanatics, a lot of social justice warriors, well, fanatics in general, it doesn't matter which side. A lot of them follow this point of it doesn't matter if it's true or not, it's a matter if it's right or not. Factually true doesn't matter. It's a matter if it's right and what we're doing is right. And if the ends justify it, we can lie a little bit along the way, You can
only be fanatical about things that there's doubt to, because nobody is protesting whether or not the sun will come up tomorrow or whether there's going to be waves tomorrow, whether or not the moon comes out. Nobody's protesting that. There's always something. Fanaticism always has to do with a degree of doubt. Anytime there's doubt.
Yeah, that just blew me up a little bit. That was incredible.
But You're right. I just think in this case there might have been some people trying to hold out and trying to like defend him, but I just don't think there was anything to defend. It's like this. Yeah, sure, you can make a point about racism, but like this dude just lied and created this thing, and it was dumb.
Yeah.
What is he? what is the actual charge again? Was it lying to?
False. It was probably false police report.
Let's say false testimony or something.
Yeah, he went full on, hate crime, whatever, and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars of the investigation. I remember at the time the Chicago PD was like reporting how much money they spent. It was Chicago PD that went after
because they were trying to look for whoever did it.
Yeah, and I think it was Chicago PD that went after him first for trying to get some of their money back. It's like, dude, you cost us this much. We want this money back. And yeah.
Well, if only, I'm gonna go a little Bill Burr here. If only the same were to happen to people who with false rape accusations.
Yeah,
false rape accusations. Sorry.
Yeah, any kind of false claim you should be. Yeah, I mean, there was a show. It doesn't matter. We talk about shows too much. Listen to our podcast.
What show?
I can't remember what it's called, but it was some. It was.
I'm going to bring up this point. I can't remember what it is. I'm going to bring it up in the middle. I didn't know a lot about JonBenet Ramsey, the whole thing, but in 2017, Netflix released a documentary, and it was a fascinating approach. It's called Casting JonBenet Ramsey. So they got a bunch of actors together, and just according to, the testimony and supposed witness accounts and everything, and they had actors kind of give their perspective being the character. It was fascinating. It's called Casting JonBenet Ramsey. And I was like, dude, that is a hell of a way to put on a documentary. I think I scrolled past it.
Yeah, I scrolled past it.
I'll have to watch that. No, the show I remember, I've looked it up. It was called Criminal United Kingdom. They had series for several countries in Europe, one for United Kingdom, one for France, one for Italy. And the show is about an interrogation team, a police interrogation team, talking to a criminal to try to get either a confession or some information or, witness reports or whatever.
Sure.
One set, the same repeating. So it's a great show, United Kingdom, Criminal United Kingdom. But there's this one episode, I won't give too many spoilers because it's a great episode, where they convince this guy is guilty of X. He's holding out that it's not true. By the end of the episode, it comes out that he's telling the truth, that he has nothing to do with it. And he tells this comparison of like, okay, now what? You've ruined my life. You drugged me through, the shows and all TV and, accusing me of all this. And now it's not true. Where's my, when my friend was accused of stealing something, they went into his house and they tore his house apart and to try to find it. Come to find out they didn't have, he didn't have what they claimed he stole. So they helped him put the furniture back and rebuild and all that. And then they left. Well, who's going to put the furniture back in my life? My life is ruined because of your accusations. Yeah. Now, who puts the furniture back was like his big thing.
The case
and it was
of
like,
Breonna Taylor as well.
Absolutely.
It's
what was the one case? Was it Duke, the lacrosse team, where I think it was a woman. She might have been a stripper. I don't want to say that, but a woman accused these 3 lacrosse players. I think it was a Duke. I could be wrong, but she accused 3 lacrosse players of rape. And these guys, they canceled the team's season.
Wow.
These guys were getting dragged through the mud by everyone. Through the mud. Sorry. What's that bitch on the? Who's that fucking old bitch who's on the channel that covers all the cases?
Maddow?
We're having bad memories.
No, it's like the there's like a channel that. No, fuck. I'm gonna remember her name as soon as we're done.
Okay.
Anyway, but these point being, these 3 guys got their names dragged through the mud.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, these guys are rapists, they're pieces of shit. Turns out, after months of them getting dragged through the mud, lives ruined.
Yeah.
Turns out there was proof that the woman was lying, and they were let go. But same thing, like you said.
Everyone's moved on.
And then, not to mention, let's just say your name, Mitch. If this happened to you, everyone's gonna remember you.
Yeah.
As being, even though you're innocent, as being linked to this thing.
Right.
And how do you put the furniture back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Court TV, that was the name of the channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's unfortunate, and I don't know how we got on that about.
What's a challenge? We talk about lines, and you brought up Jussie Smollett.
That's right.
Nancy Grace.
And so we kind of digressed.
I was talking about there should be consequences for people who do false claims, and unfortunately, there's nothing you can do legally to make up for all the unofficial abuse they get. I mean, you can't. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse is like suing all these news reports and all that for libel because they kind of defamation of character and stuff like that. That's the only one recently that I can think of.
I know I've heard of that to where like hypothetically the guys who got dragged through the mud by Nancy Grace, that bitch.
Yeah, they can go and
get libel.
Yeah, the kid I don't know his name, but that kid who was wearing a Trump hat outside the Capitol, and that Native American guy came over and was hitting the drum in his face.
Yeah.
The initial reports was that he was harassing the Native American. Turns out it was the other way around. He went back and sued all the news people because they were saying that he was the one accosting, and it turns out it wasn't. So there are ways. You won't hear about it on the news.
Yeah, and they're those. Because it's good for those cases. Yeah, but still, like, so in that case, and that was actually grossly mishandled because even like I was like, wow, this kid's a piece of shit.
Right.
But then when you see the whole clip, and even when you talk to the Native American guy, I guess he said he did it to de-escalate a situation between the kids and this other group.
Right.
Which was actually true. But the whole narrative that this kid like approached him and was the antagonist.
Gotcha.
Once you saw the whole thing, you're like, this is just clearly not true.
Yeah.
How could you fuck this up that bad?
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, though, is like in that kid's case, he had his 15 minutes. He gets to sue him. Cool. But what about those people who are called rapists for months?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And even like you hear about some people who are in jail, in prison for 10, 15 years. And then they find the piece of evidence that proves they didn't do it.
Yeah.
How do you get
15
years back?
I don't care if you give me $5 million. I mean, I would love $5 million, but like, how do you get 15 years back? Like, there's no, it's the injustice system.
Oh, fuck you. It's
and that's in this country. I mean, China don't get in trouble there because they have a 99% conviction rate. Their due process.
I'm sure that's for a reason. Yeah.
So this is a government that tries hard to keep the innocent out of incarceration, out of getting in trouble, and yet that's not the case in most countries. It's like a drop of a hat. If there's a hiccup, you're guilty until it's decided otherwise. And
I think the philosophy is like the philosophy in some of those countries are like, like you might be not guilty of this, but there's a reason why you're here.
Yeah.
So we might as well lock you up.
Right.
I think I forgot what civilization. There was an ancient civilization.
Adam and Eve.
Maybe. Their judicial system, or like their court, was pretty much, if you're claiming something, you're accusing someone of something, there's this device, you both sit down, and in the middle of it was a fucking axe. And so they would just start talking to you. And once they find out who's telling the truth and who's lying, they press the button, and the wrong person's dead.
Oh, shit.
And the theory was, with that kind of thing, you're not going to make false accusations.
What the fuck?
That's the theory, was that you're not going to go after people unless you're right.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to commit crimes unless, like, you can get away with whatever. Like, that's not a deterrent, because, like, it's not this whole, like, in our country, and it's not a bad thing. Like, there's this whole the process, like, this whole long, dragged out thing. This whole theory was like, no, you're accusing him of stealing? Get up there.
Wow.
Let's get to the bottom.
That's like some Spanish Inquisition shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember thinking that, like, that's so awful, but it probably worked.
No, it did not.
Because
you're kidding? You'd be desperate. You'd be lying about everything if it means saving your life. True. Oh my God. Look how much people have been fucking up just to save themselves from COVID.
But the point of it was, like, if someone's like, hey, you stole my pen, do you want to take this to court? No, here's your pen back.
Okay, maybe as a deterrent.
I mean, like,
maybe as a deterrent, but once you're there,
once you're there,
yeah. It's kind of done. But then again, the Spanish Inquisition, if you looked at somebody crossways, well, now you got to prove you're innocent.
Oh God, yeah.
And no, they're getting a confession. If you're in there, you've committed sin. And they can keep that hot poker wherever they want until you say, "Uncle, I've committed a sin. I am so sorry. I won't do it again. How dare I?" Even if you've done nothing wrong.
Ugh.
And that's still in practice today. That's not antiquated, So we crumb on our justice system. There are some people, and those make the news. We don't hear about the successes. Somebody, and it's generally people with a long rap sheet. The whole 3 strikes and you're out. If you're back when that was it a law? Was it that punishment modality was in effect? It's like, okay, the judge can decide what those 3 punishments are, and if you have a history of crime, it can be shoplifting, but what did you do before that shoplifting? And then three strikes, and you're in there for 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of see that with the special circumstances sentencing. A judge has a right to look back on, okay, well, this guy ran someone over with their car. Now, was he a businessman who had one too many beers and made a mistake? Was he a kid with, a history of fighting and maybe some public intoxication? Or was he a gang affiliate and trying to kill someone and happened to run someone over, and that's what they got him for? So, I mean, I get the point of justice having to be blind and punishing someone just for the crime they did, but at the same time, if they show a pattern of repeating and, that's where the hard part gets into. We can't just be blind about this one thing if he's going to do it again, and we have a history to prove that he's going to do it again. And, I mean, he can say...
In other cases, it's like the power is taken away from the judge. If you have a mandatory minimum sentencing law, there's nothing the judge can do. This is your sentence.
Right.
It's out of my hands. I believe there's extenuating circumstances, but you know what? I can't do anything.
Well, like in California, in LA County, I should say now, the district DA took away special circumstances now. So a judge cannot convict based on circumstances anymore. That's a whole other episode.
Well, because like
that gets into
I
law.
see it. Yeah, I see it both ways. The special circumstances, the context. Because I see where it's like the blind sentencing. You did this crime, you get this punishment.
Right.
But at the same time, like, this is a weird example. I might have brought it before. I'll use it for you. So if, let's say, your wife...
Mikey's Hypees.
Sure.
Mikey's Hypees.
Hypothetical. No, if you get home today and your wife's crying and she said, your brother punched me today. He came over here, we had a conversation, and he punched me. And she has a black eye and everything.
Okay.
Immediately, you're going to be like, fuck my brother. Where the fuck
I would not say that.
What would you...
Not to my wife. Come on. I'd want to punish him.
Okay. Fucking. But no, so the point being, and you're like, oh my God. And so maybe you go to your brother's house, whatever, and you confront him. And you're like, yo, you punched my fucking wife. What the fuck's wrong with you? And he says, yeah, look, I did, but it's because she said she wanted to kill our parents. It doesn't make him punching her right, but with the context behind it,
right?
Now the situation does change.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You're still mad at him,
yeah,
but it's kind of like, okay, there's more to the story.
I'm just gonna punch you now. I'm not gonna kill you. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's hard in court to prove intent and to prove.
It's hard to prove, but they do. It's kind of awesome, and yeah. It's what makes the difference between a first degree and a second degree. It's that's what intent is all about. But I'm saying there's another element to it, which is their history.
That's what I mean by context, though. It's like it changes.
Yeah, but context is more about the crime itself. But if a guy shot another guy or woman, and come to find out, there was contact, there was intent and all that kind of stuff. He's like, okay, well, crime of passion, whatever. And then the prosecuting attorney says, yeah, but look, 5 years ago, he did the same damn thing. 2 years before that, he did it again.
But I consider that part of the context too.
Oh, okay.
I consider history part of context.
Okay. Yeah.
Like same thing, like, no, you already said it, but we're in agreement.
And that's where I think goes back to the 3 strikes thing. It's like, if someone's committed 3 felonies, at what point are we just going to stop giving this guy another chance or girl another chance? It's I'm sorry.
They can do it too.
Yeah. I mean, the 3 strikes law goes back and forth because there are people who get thrown life in prison because I committed grand theft. Is that worth life in prison? It's like, no, but the 2 or 3 other violent acts you did before that did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of. I mean, it would be great if we lived in a world where everything was here and now and history didn't matter. But unfortunately, we need to have that because otherwise we'll just be blind, just following impulses all the time.
And that's
no way
less
to live.
common. That's less common than, hearing where you can get representation. It's not just you against the government. That's rare in the world.
Absolutely, and it's like it's one of those things taken so for granted.
Very much so. Like freedom of speech, like freedom of the press. You're seeing instances. Yeah, I live near a. You hear that? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
We hear it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We thought it was your stomach.
Yes, it was. It is. Still going. Chile verde. But anyways.
No, you're good. You're good.
They're going crazy. I forgot what I was going to say. A jet distracted me.
What was he saying?
I forgot too.
We'll stop and rewind.
Well,
if you're listening, leave a comment.
Leave a comment. Remind us about what Eddie was saying.
No, we were talking about being taken for granted.
Oh yeah.
People versus the government.
Well, we see what happens when we don't. Yeah. And it's fascinating because there was like an 80-year-old woman holding up 2 signs in Russia. It's like Vladimir Putin is afraid of that woman holding up 2 signs. We got to arrest you because we disagree. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You can skim off the top. You can take from the people and have your yachts and whatever, along with your cronies who tell you what they want to hear. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. This kind of went full circle into Ukraine, But it's an example of what happens when there aren't when there isn't freedom of speech, when there isn't right public assembly, or freedom of the press, freedom of religion, things like that are based within a constitution and enforced by the government. It's the opposite. It's like, no, you don't have freedom of speech. Even in England. That's what standing on your soapbox. You can't stand on the ground, so you stand on the soapbox, and then you can say whatever you want. Right. But you still can't talk about the Queen. You can be, I don't know what the penalty is.
She's a treasure.
Well, who would want to? That's the thing.
Well, it's kind of ironic going back to Russia, because you kind of just touched on it. Like, since all these sanctions happen, a lot of people are kind of cutting away from Russia. I've heard that a lot of Russian officials are saying, like, you're taking away our freedom of speech by cutting us off.
Yeah, they're turning it around.
You're now trying, and it's like, did you not just arrest 1,000 people?
Oh, they fucking know.
No, I know.
They know it.
I know. I'm pointing it out, but it's just like, how are you so?
Do you think we buy that? Fuck you.
You literally just did this.
But that's the challenge, because free speech can be used against itself. The people in that country don't have the right, but that doesn't mean that they're given the rights. And interestingly enough, if you go to China and they're going to be the world's #1 economy, they don't have freedom of speech. So that's going to be very interesting. The most powerful economy in the world. And it's going to be done much, much differently under a state-run economy.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
It's interesting you say, too, that the concept, and this is a good philosophical point. I think we'll close on this. As a good philosophical point to think about, maybe we'll expand on another episode, is the concept of free speech being an enemy of itself, because you can get people, which you see all the time, people who come out and say the Constitution is flawed, it needs to be scrubbed and rewritten, and the government is all terrible, and they all need to be, hanged and replaced. It's like, well, maybe not that extent, but like,
it's like Jesus,
to the point where you could say to the point where you can say publicly and be paid publicly to say the government is terrible, Constitution is terrible, it all needs to be scrubbed, and we need to redo it, because they have that freedom to say so. And it's kind of like, well, you think that this freedom of speech is something that's just so accepted everywhere that you can just say that and people everywhere will just agree. It's just not the case. So it's kind of it's interesting.
Very much so. And it's rare.
Anyway,
rare. The Constitution is an amazing document. Such vision when that thing was being written.
Yes. It's an understatement, but
constitutional
it
law.
is. I would love to get someone who believes in Constitution reformation or a rewrite or something, who believes that, it should be updated or whatever, which it is. Fuck you, it is. Anyway, it'll be a great discussion to have.
It's a living document.
I mean, it's been updated and been changed.
What did Jim Jeffries say? It's called
like
an amendment.
It's called an amendment. Yeah, it can be updated, and it was brilliantly written. And people who don't think so, I'd love to hear their opinion on us about it.
I mean, the grammar could have been better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of commas.
Why the fuck did we give black men the right to vote before women? Do you realize that? Like, do you realize?
Title of the episode.
No. I heard this on another podcast, and it was like, ever since I heard about it, it screwed me up. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. We gave there's that long debate between the plight between the black man and the woman, like who has been, and it's like we gave black men the right to vote before we gave women the right to vote. That should say a lot about. And oh my God, it's so crazy.
Even if you put
so, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say why, as in that was an atrocity. Why? It's more like, what? Do you realize this? Isn't that not blowing your mind?
Even on top of that, because I remember I had that conversation in college. Someone said and you got to think about it. So the black man got the right to vote before white women.
Yeah. And
the black man was worth 3/5 of the population. And it was like, Wow.
What does that say about women?
Really valuing the women.
It's like, oh my God. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that'll be a fun discussion. And I'd love to have someone like outside. I was thinking about
discussion.
We should have like a guest on or something, someone who wants to come on and discuss it, and we'll see.
I could devil's advocate it really easily.
I mean, I know you could, but the problem is you and I think a lot alike and come to an agreement where we both compromise. I'd love to see someone who just does not agree and we can get down. But
yeah, I don't know if I know anyone who completely says toss the Constitution out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know anyone like that. I do know a lot of people who are like, yeah, like we should make more amendments, like living document style. But I don't know if I know anyone who is just like toss the whole thing out, start over. Anyway, all I know is I think I could take Thomas Jefferson in a fight.
But
Probably.
not
Washington.
Hamilton,
No, Washington.
Not Hamilton. Not Hamilton.
You couldn't handle your Aaron Burr.
No, Jefferson. I think I could take.
Jefferson, yeah, he's a wiry white idealist who read too much and died broke.
Ben Franklin, I got him.
Ben Franklin, young Ben Franklin? I don't think so.
I'm thinking old Ben Franklin.
Old Ben Franklin, maybe, but why would you want to? It'd be like fighting.
I only fight the fights I win.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
William Taft, I could take.
Fighting Ben Franklin would be like fighting like Brian Dennehy. He'd be like, I don't want to, man.
Next episode, which presidents are you think you take
Which presidents could you fight? Yeah. Yeah. I would die against Andrew Jackson. Like in the first 5 minutes. I would die.
Jimmy Carter, I could take.
I could take Jimmy, yeah. We got to talk prime, in their prime.
FDR.
No, that's who no. That he's all mine. He's all mine. In the latter,
you can take FDR.
He's all mine.
FDR, do you have to sit in the back seat with him?
No, FDR pre handicap. Like, you know, we're talking prime Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln.
You know who I would not want is Teddy
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Oh no, he'll kill you.
He'd bust you up
at any age.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, that's
at
true.
Any age, I would.
See, I'd be me with Reagan. Reagan at any age would put up a fight, I think.
He'd forget.
I mean, he was an actor.
You know. Huh?
Reagan, I mean, he was an actor, but I think he'd still fight.
I think he played a tough guy. I think in real life, wasn't he the one that like almost choked on a Skittle or something, or a pretzel?
No, I don't know.
That was
that
George
Bush?
W.
Oh,
okay.
Never mind.
Obama would fuck me up.
I'm not going after Obama.
Obama would roll up his sleeves and you know he
wouldn't sweat.
Oh, he would not sweat at all.
And then he would apologize after too, which would be
he'd be that asshole that beats the shit out of you in front of your kids and then buys you a beer.
That's what I'm saying, but it makes it worse because he's like, okay, get up.
Yeah, no, he'd sit you down, bloody nose, and be like, "Now, what'd you learn?" No,
You'd pat your face. You'd pat your face, get the blood off.
Yeah.
Give you a pat on the shoulder.
What did you learn today?
Yeah.
So what did you learn? Now, problem is, I'm not going to do my Obama right now. I'm not going to do my Obama. We'll do presidential imitations at another episode.
You're right. Obama would be the worst because he would kick the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And then like apologize. What did you learn?
He'd knock you out. You'd be on the floor and he'd be like dancing around you like a little, like, you know, still looking. He'd be cool as a motherfucker too. Oh.
And he'd be like, so we're done.
So we're done?
We're done.
Okay.
We
Get back
have
up.
Obama
Get back
on
up.
the
Put him
show.
up. If we're not done, put him up. Anyway. Thank you guys for listening. It's covered a few topics and a little all kinds of topics. So thank you for listening. And we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Bye.